I try to get a phone call in the first hour. Don't always succeed, but I'm going to pull it off today. Montezuma, Iowa. This is Kenny. Kenny, thanks for calling and welcome. It's great to have you here with us.
Thanks for taking my call, Rush.
Yes, sir.
Well, you hear all this stuff like Al Sharpton and everybody out there causing all this trouble, and, that's job security for them. But, they come up with all these cute little slogans and everything. I keep hearing this hands up, don't shoot. That just drives me nuts. That's got nothing to do with the reality in this situation. I think the chant ought to be pants up, don't loot.
Yeah, well, who's going to say that?
Apparently nobody.
Hands up, don't loot.
No,
See,
pants
you are
up, don't
failing
loot.
to exhibit the proper sensitivity and understanding of the tension that is felt by the looters and by the rioters. And your insensitivity is only feeding the problem. And you calling here and making insensitive, smart-ass comments like that is only going to make the situation worse. What do you mean, hands up, don't loot? Don't you know that the problem here is the cops?
That's pants up, don't loot.
Pants up, don't loot.
Yeah, pants up, don't loot. That's the reality. They need to take a little more, have a little more respect in there and for themselves and for where they live.
So now you're making fun of fashion choices in addition to everything else. See, people like you are the problem.
I know, I'm so ashamed.
I'll bet you listen to talk radio all the time and get these cockamamie ideas there, don't you?
As a matter of fact, I do, Russ.
These people are so easily predictable. The sad thing is, that's the way they look at it. Hey, Kenny, yeah. I appreciate the call. I really do. By the way, folks, this Rams business, this whole hands up thing, I haven't spent probably the time I should spend on this in terms of sharing with you my concerns. I really think this is going to have blowback that nobody's contemplating yet within the NFL. And I don't even know how far I want to go in explaining this yet. I'll give you some idea. Yeah, within the NFL, I mean, they're going to have some business problems with this. They're going to lose some spot. I'll just look it. I have to take a break now. I'll come back and I'll explain what I mean in just a second. No, go. Anyway, let's get back to St. Louis and Ferguson and the Rams. Now, let's see, let me find the appropriate, there's two stories, and we've got a couple of sound bites on this, maybe three. The first story is from late last night, USA Today. This ran about 11:30. A Rams executive apologized to St. Louis County law enforcement Monday for the hands up, don't shoot gesture performed by 5 of the team's players before Sunday's game at the Edward Jones Dome against the hapless Oakland Raiders. St. Louis County Police Sergeant Sean McGuire confirmed to USA Today Sports on Monday night that Kevin Demoff, the Rams' executive vice president of football operations and the COO, the chief operating officer, apologized for the players' actions. This is according to the St. Louis County Police Sergeant Sean McGuire. The apology was first reported by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, County Police Chief John Belmar sent his staff a memo in which he detailed a call from Kevin Demoff, who, by the way, is the son of the great Agent Marvin Demoff. Not that that matters, I just want you to know. Kevin Demoff is the son of Marvin Demoff, the COO of the Rams. Anyway, the police chief, County Police Chief John Belmar, sent staff a memo in which he detailed a call from Kevin Demoff, in which Belmar said that Demoff, quote, regretted that any members of the Rams organization would act in a way that minimized the outstanding work the police officers and departments carry out each and every day, close quote. Earlier Monday, the head coach of the Rams, Jeff Fisher, told reporters that Kevin Demoff had met with St. Louis law enforcement but directed any questions about the Rams' response to the players' gesture to Demoff. who at that time had not been made available for interviews. Okay, so that's USA Today last night. Now, the AP, at about, later, the same time frame, a little later, Rams police differ on Ferguson protest apology. It looks like USA Today jumped the gun. Looks like USA may have gotten it wrong. A St. Louis Rams official and a county police chief differed late Monday about whether the team had apologized for the actions of 5 players who raised their hands during pregame introductions to show solidarity with Ferguson protesters. Kevin Demoff, the executive vice president of football operations for the Rams, denied in an email to the AP that he had apologized. He said, "I expressed regret for any perceived disrespect of law enforcement," Demoff said. "Our players' goal was to show support for positive change in the community. And I do believe that supporting our players' First Amendment rights and supporting local law enforcement are not mutually exclusive." Now, Mr. Demoff has been trained well, folks, because he's got the Democrat-style apology down pat. If anyone was offended, I'm sorry. It's your fault for being too dumb to understand the It's your fault for not understanding the nuance. Do Rams players have the First Amendment right to pray on the field? Do Rams players have the right to do the slit-the-throat gesture after a sack or tackle? No. Do Rams players have the right to celebrate 2 players at the same time in the end zone after a touchdown? It is verboten. One guy can celebrate, but if another player or series of players joins the other player celebrating, it's a flag. St. Louis Post-Dispatch said that County Chief John Belmar told his staff by email Monday that Demoff had apologized. So we have a conflict here. The cops wanted an apology. They thought they got one. When they announced they got one, the Rams said, "Oh, no. We did not apologize for our players. Our players have First Amendment rights. Our players wanted to show support for positive change in the community. They came out and raised their hands in the hands up, don't shoot, except that didn't happen." Do the players even know that? Do the players know that didn't happen? And if they don't know that it happened, or if they don't know it didn't happen, then, well, that may not be the most effective way of looking at it. Do the players not know that the Gentle Giant did not raise his hands and did not surrender? The players know that. If they do know that and came out and did it anyway, that's not something that would support the community. It'd rip it apart. If the players do not know that didn't happen, well, then where are they getting their information? The bottom line is they came out and the Rams executives, well, they just want to show their support for positive change in the community. What didn't happen, though? The Gentle Giant did not surrender, did not raise his hands. He was not shot while trying to surrender. None of that happened. And yet supporting that version of events doesn't seem that it would equal positive support for the community. Maybe part of the community, maybe that's what is going on. Anyway, the NFL said there will be no discipline for the players whatsoever on this. And that's where I think, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's certain things that happen, I get a gut feel. And we know that beneath the surface, there is a lot of tension in this country about a lot of things. And we know that it's effervescing, and we know that sometimes it boils over. We know there's a lot of pent-up rage and anger that does get tamped down. But it doesn't take much to release it. And we just keep a sharp eye on this weekend's games and others to see if this act inspires similar behavior. Because after all, these guys got on the news, and that's half the objective of young people today is to get on TV. They got on the news, and they're being talked about. And by the way, this is a hell of a lot easier than being involved in a rock'em sock'em tackle where you might get hurt in order to get on a highlight reel on ESPN. If all you have to do to get on TV and then on Facebook and then on Twitter is to come out in uniform with your number plainly visible, even though you're wearing a helmet, nobody can see your face. They know who you are because your number. You come out, raise your hands, don't shoot, and you make the news. And you get on TV, you're 24, 25. You get on TV, get on the news, get on Twitter, get on Facebook. Hey, pretty cool. And then the league says, hey, fine with us. Well, they don't say fine with us, but they say there'll be no discipline. Well, I think this is not going to sit well with some ticket holders in St. Louis. It's not going to sit well with some corporate sponsors. I'm just guessing. I don't know anything. I just have a feel. But I maybe should. That's enough. I shouldn't go any further on that because I really don't know. I just think this is not isolated. One soundbite, and then we'll come back and complete. But here's the coach, Jeff Fisher. Last night in St. Louis, Rams press conference. And the coach, Jeff Fisher, spoke about the hands up, don't shoot gesture made by 5 players.
It's my personal opinion. I firmly believe that it's important that I keep sports and politics separate.
Right.
I'm a head coach. I'm not a politician, an activist. I have not talked to the 5 players that made the choice to exercise their free speech yesterday. Politics. I've not talked to them as of yet. I will.
Politics.
As far as the choice that the players made, no, they're exercising their right to free speech.
Politics.
They will not be disciplined by the club, nor will they be disciplined by the National Football League as it was released today. So that's all I'm going to say.
And we'll be back. Don't go away, folks. By the way, if you think I'm off the mark on this Rams business with these 5 guys coming out, hands up, don't shoot, you just need to know CNN is showing that practically on a never-ending loop, and they're calling it one of the most courageous things since Rosa Parks. Somebody on CNN referred to it that way, and not everybody is, but it's being touted. That intro, those 5 players for the Rams, they're being heralded. I mean, it is what a lot of young people aspire to end up on TV and be talked about. Here is, speaking of CNN, Rachel Nichols used to be at ESPN. She's now over at CNN. Host Don Lemon spoke with her last night, and so she's a sports babe expert. She said, Lemon said, do you think this is a rift between the players and the team? Are we likely to hear more about it? Or do you think this is in the end that they're not going to talk about it anymore, Rachel?
I wouldn't think that it is a huge rift. I think that all of us having conversations about Ferguson are finding some differences of opinion with the people that we talk to. Some of the people who run the team might have a difference of opinion of some of the people who play on the team. So, the line moves a little bit in the fact that the organization as a whole has apologized. But again, I personally would be surprised to see any players apologize. We'll have to see what happens over the next couple days. We all think a lot of very different things about this. It's a nuanced and complex issue.
Right, it is. And if people who run the Rams have a difference of opinion with the people who play on the Rams, so what? You gotta, as the coach, Jeff Fisher said, hey, keep sports and politics separate. I'm head coach. I'm not a politician. I'm not an activist. I'm not talked to them. They were exercising their free speech rights. Well, NFL restricts a lot of so-called free speech. But here's the commissioner, Roger Goodell. This is October 13, 2009 in Boston at a NFL owners meeting. And let's see if you remember what this is only 12 seconds. It's going to go by fast. Let's see if you remember what this was about.
Divisive comments are not what the NFL is all about. And so, I would not want to see those kind of comments from people who are in a responsible position within the NFL. No, absolutely not.
Okay, so that was, 5 years ago? That was about, it was about the Rams. It wasn't, interestingly enough, Snerdley, you're right. It was about the Rams. It was an ownership controversy. Exactly right. But 5 years ago, the commissioner of the NFL said that we don't divisive comments. That's not what we do here, and we want to see those kind of comments from people who are in a responsible position with the NFL. So is hands up, don't shoot, is that divisive or not? I don't know. Depends on your perspective. But I have further questions on this. It seems to me, I've been observing games for a long time. You know what I've observed? The 73% of the league, 75% is African American. Most of the officials or the cops are white. And I wonder, white NFL referees seem to throw more flags against black players than they do against white players in the NFL. I wonder, am I making too much of that? There are more black players, so what? Prima facie racism here. The white refs are throwing more flags on black players than white players. And eventually that's going to rear its head, too, just like it has in Ferguson. No, shouldn't the NFL have to have black officials proportionate to black players to ensure the integrity of the game and penalties being passed? I mean, really? Trying to learn lessons from what's happening in the core of society and extrapolating.